Hello and welcome to another episode of Autogefuhl. Today with me AJ and Jonas. With the advent of the SUV craze in the market, it was only time before hot SUVs became the new breed of hot hatches. Enter the Skoda Kodiaq RS or VRS, depending on which market you're in. The first Skoda SUV ever to wear the RS badge. It's still based on the same reliable, practical and fairly attainable Skoda Kodiaq, but this time it has the most powerful diesel engine ever fitted to a Skoda and has the lap record at the Nürburgring for the fastest 7-seat SUV. That's right, got me pretty interested as well. That's why I'm here on a rainy day, just a couple hours outside of Cologne, to see what it's all about. Are you ready? Let's find out. Come on, let's go. The Kodiaq RS is pretty much the top end of the trim lines, so it comes with a lot of kit as standard. Up front, it is about 2 meters wide, and it of course looks a lot more aggressive. This is a very sporty, racy looking blue color, Thomas blue, which I think goes really well with this car. The full LED headlights are also standard with the RS. Nothing much different, except for, of course, these glossy black front grille, which again evokes that sporty character of the RS. The RS or VRS, depending on how you look at it, badge in the front. Although if you look a little bit closer, you see that there's only a red line and there's no green line anymore. The Kodiaq RS is 4.7 meters long, standard length as the standard car, but in the RS it comes as standard with 20-inch wheels. And upgraded brakes as well. Some of the other standard equipment for the RS, of course, are things like the dynamic chassis control, which is the electronically adjusting damping system. And we'll talk more about that once we're driving. Squared off wheel arches with black cladding. So it is definitely an SUV body style and shape. At the back of the car, there is no real spoiler of sorts, which I think I don't really miss because of course it's only cosmetic, but generally we see in these kinds of sporty trim lines there will be like a larger glossy black spoiler, but we don't see that. Only a little bit of elements flanking the sides. Very large rear window. As we go further down, a very clean design for the rear hatch. VRS badging down here, 4x4 badging on the other side. A large horizontal strip along the bottom of the hatch, which is a reflector, which I think adds a nice touch and some detailing to break up the monotony or the monotone color of the rear of the car. All right, now this is the part where things get really interesting. Let's see what's under the hood. Also a test to show that you can lift the hood with just one hand, thanks to these gas charged struts. So what do we have here? What makes the RS special? Like I mentioned, this is the first SUV Skoda RS ever, and this is the most powerful diesel engine ever put into Skoda. It's the 2-liter TDI, which is a bi-turbo 4-cylinder turbo diesel engine. This makes 240 horsepower and 500 Newton meters of torque. It comes coupled with the 7-speed DSG, which is a dual-clutch transmission. As you can see, it is transversely mounted, that's the word, but it is front-wheel drive oriented and biased, but it has the Haldex all-wheel drive system. They call it the Intelligent 4x4. dry and warm inside the car. Let's take a look at the seats. We have sport seats here at the RS with integrated headrest, nice red detailing in the stitching around the edges of the seat and this quilted material, this quilted pattern as well. Alcantara and leatherette is the combination, which I think is a great combination, sustainable and a lot more affordable than actual leather. The steering wheel for the RS is also very sporty with red contrast stitching, a nice grip and perforated material and a flat bottom. A lot of controls to navigate through the digital dashboard, the virtual cockpit, and stalks for the adaptive cruise control on the left-hand side. Up here, the materials are also fairly soft. There is this carbon fiber type inlay across the front of the dashboard, similar to what we saw on the door. I think is very in line with the sporty character of the car. The interior of the Kodiaq RS is fairly black in terms of the color scheme, as you can see. And while there is a lot of space, you know, I'm 5'8", there's plenty of headroom and the windows are also really large. One thing that definitely helps make the cabin feel brighter and bigger is this large panoramic sunroof. It is an option, but I would definitely recommend it. And I think it really brightens up the cabin, and you can even open it, and it opens pretty much at least about 45% of the way. So also a nice way to kind of get that open air feeling. All right, let's take a seat in the back. Excuse my incredibly muddy shoes. It's inevitable. So inside, wow, a lot of space. So it is very practical. Again, the body shape, I think, is a really great match between form and function. Very handsome design, but at the same time, lots of space inside. There's a lot of headroom. Of course, with this panoramic roof, you do lose a little bit of space on the side, but you get a little bit more space in the middle, and of course, the roof, the glass itself. So it's a little bit of a trade-off, but even Thomas fits quite fine. You can watch our coverage at the launch of the RS, and you can see how he sits, how he fits. Plenty of knee room and plenty of space for me to slide my feet under the front seat. This is set to my driving position, roughly. I'm 5'8" or 1.7 meters. Even with the seat in a lower position, you know, it feels there's plenty of space. In the German market, you can get the Kodiaq RS as a 5-seater like the one we have, but also as a 7-seater. In some markets like the UK, I think it's only available as a 7-seater for the time being. And if it were a 7-seater, one really useful feature is this. You can actually slide the middle bench forwards. I need 2 hands. Forward like this. So, you know, a sacrifice between whoever's sitting in the middle and the third row of passengers, you know, is a good way to kind of have that flexibility. Let's take a look inside the trunk. There's an automatic tailgate. And wow, colossal area. This is what 600 liters looks like. You can push this parcel shelf out of the way and remove it altogether. If you had the 7-seat option as well, those seats would pretty much lie as flat as this floor is right now. So you do still have a lot of space, even if you did have that 7 seats and you don't need it. A lot of more simply clever features, like some cubby holes on the side. There's kind of a railing with these hooks to hang things. There's a automatic tailgate release to tow for the tow bar. There is also a 12-volt power socket. Jonas, if you look on this side, there's also a LED light that you can use when you're loading items, but also you can just take this out and it becomes a flashlight. All right, let's start the drive of the Kodiaq RS or VRS. First things first, I'm going to put it into sport mode. Now, a number of things have changed. First of all, the sound. There is a dynamic audio booster, the sound booster, which is coupled with the exhaust, and it kind of amplifies the exhaust note a little bit and makes the car a lot more vocal. And the sound of the exhaust is amplified within the cabin. Now, is that something you like or don't like? Well, you have to judge for yourself, but it certainly evokes a lot more sporty characteristics for the car. Second thing is the throttle response. Now the throttle response, the mapping is heightened, it's sharpened, it gives you really quick responses to any inputs. Thanks to this engine being a bi-turbo, it gives you very immediate responses. I've been driving already for a little bit and I did not feel any turbo lag whatsoever. The next thing that changes in sport mode is the steering weight. The steering actually is very nice. I'm quite happy with this. First of all, as standard, the steering comes, you get the progressive steering, which means it's not a linear rack. As you steer further, like right now, the angle of change, the displacement increases. So as you steer further and further from lock to lock, the actual reaction of the wheels increases as well. So it's a progressive steering rack and it gives you much more sharper responses. The weight also aids in providing it a little bit more feedback from the road, and it's actually a really nice steering system. The all-wheel drive is also now trying to be more sporty. It helps control a little bit of the yaw, and in that way also provides more agile cornering and handling capabilities. And let's take a quick look at the mileage that we're getting. Unfortunately, it's not going to be a very realistic number, and bear with me, it's a bit of a shock. It's 16.1 liters per 100 kilometers, which is incredibly a big number. But the truth is, it's okay because it's not a realistic number. So I can expect much lower numbers, even numbers as low as 7 on the highway, because again, thanks to that diesel, and being a bi-turbo, there's always torque, so you don't really have to ever rev the engine too high on the highway, and there's always enough torque to overtake, so you're not really, running the engine at a high RPM. In that scenario either. But yes, it is really high right now. Maybe towards the end of the drive we can check in on that as well. Now let's talk about some of the other things inside the cabin. Of course, in the sport mode, if you do have this loud exhaust mode, it is quite loud and it does get a little bit of, it's like a white noise. It's always there. It can give you a little bit of a disturbance. It can give you a little bit of a headache after a long time being exposed to that. But you can go to individual mode and you can set up the steering and set up everything else to be very sporty, but turn off the sound booster and keep the suspension also soft. Let's summarize today's drive of the Kodiaq RS. By the way, after I finished that highway segment, I did reset the trip meter, and even though I drove for only about 10 kilometers after that, I saw numbers around 6 liters for 100 kilometers, which might not be realistic in a combined cycle, but is a great indication of the mileage that you can expect from this engine on the highway. So that brings me to the overall my overall takeaway from this car, and that is it's a no compromise car. It's got the practicality that we know from the Kodiaq, all the details to make your life a little bit easier from the Skoda Simply Clever philosophy, and it still looks very handsome with these touches, with that black glossy inlays on the sides, on the outside, and the grille, these large wheels. It looks a lot more athletic than the standard Kodiaq, so the RS distinguishes itself as well. And, before I wasn't really into the hot SUV philosophy, but I'm saying right now, why not? Because, again, you're not going to be taking this car on a track, even though it is the Nürburgring record holder for the fastest 7-seat SUV. I'm not going to try to break that record anytime. What matters to me is how fun it is to drive on twisty mountain roads, and we saw that it is. The only thing that I'm not happy about and I'm not smiling about is the price tag. It's, as near as makes no difference, 50,000 euros, which I think is quite steep, really. I mean, it is a Skoda, it is an SUV. I would have expected it to be a little bit better priced. The truth is, the Octavia VRS, or the Octavia RS, is a very common car. It's sold quite a lot. And I don't know if this is going to achieve that kind of a status. And I think to kind of penetrate this market, this niche of hot SUVs, pricing is really crucial. But we'll only see when, after a few months have passed, and if we can look into some of the sales numbers. But what do you guys think? Is it too expensive? Or do you think this overall great package, this overall jack of all trades, off-road, sporty SUV combination is worth 50 grand? Put it down in the comments below. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Jonas and I had a great time, and I'll see you guys next time.